Hello and welcome to Fix My Flood, where we ask the experts here. We try to meet regularly with Scott Galden of Simmons Flooring and Restoration, and we are back at it. There's been a lot of things going on all around the area, and we took a little time off to take care of some things. I was hoping that you might say you got caught up, but you may not get caught up for the next millennia, from what I can
It, it's
hear.
it's going to be a little while, Chris. Yeah, there is. This is unprecedented what we're up against right now in the restoration world. The number of homes that have been affected by this event is just enormous at a time when things have been really difficult. It's a real busy time anyway. So we're just getting this kind of triple whammy hitting us. And that's why I wanted to discuss tonight's topic of why is my project taking so long, or why is this?
Are you hearing that every other 3 or 4 times a day?
I hear that from a whole lot of homeowners, and I understand they're tired of living in a war zone. Their houses are torn up, and they really want to. They feel like they're on an island. They feel like, why is my project not excelling? But that part of what we're trying to do is educate people and help them become wise consumers, and they have to understand that the market right now is just overwhelmed, and it's the worst thing they could do is panic and jump into something else, because any contractor that's any good is extremely busy right now. In fact, yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I guess not to kind of bury the lead, but what are you telling folks right now? Is everybody a little different? The answer is, what do you have one main thing that you'd like to communicate to people when they ask you that?
Well, there's a couple of different things, and it all depends on the circumstance. One of the things that's causing the delay is that the insurance companies and the adjusters are overwhelmed with the amount of claims that they have, as well as the size of the claims. You have to understand that one of the things that's holding everything up is because of the size of the claims, they're having to get multiple sign-offs from people way up the chain before they can actually go to the homeowner and say, okay, I've approved your claim, because of the size that's involved.
And what are we talking here? What's your average claim size that you're
our average claim size right now is getting approaching $50,000 average.
Really? Wow.
And for most insurance companies, when you get above $25,000, that's considered a major loss. And as a result, it requires multiple sign-offs before those checks can be cut. So that's delaying a lot of the process. The other thing is, quite frankly, the insurance companies in a lot of cases are trying to be a little bit tight with the funds, and we're having to spend more time in the negotiation stage than we would normally want to do. And sometimes the adjusters are just hard to get a hold of to do that. So that's holding it up, as well as the second thing that we'll be talking about some tonight is just the materials. It's hard to get materials. I've never been in a situation as bad as this, and we'll talk further about that. So that's number two. And then number three, it's very, very difficult to find skilled labor. We were in a very tight labor market before this ever happened, and now it's just almost impossible to scale up to what's needed, because the good crews are working right now. You can't just bring somebody in off the street to do the kind of work that we're asking them to do. We want to make sure we leave the homeowner with a good job when it's done. So we're limited in the amount of crews that we can get. And even every contractor I know right now is actively seeking more crews, but there's just a limit to what's available in the marketplace right now.
Makes total sense. Well, to that end, you have decided to ask a friend to join us, someone that you know very well, Karen McMullen, excuse me, I apologize, McMullen, with CNC Distributors. Tell us just a little bit about her, and then we'll welcome her. I'll let you welcome her into our little mosh pit here.
Karen's been one of my vendors for almost 16 years now, since I went into business. And Karen works for a company called CNC Distributors. They do a lot of flooring products and sundry products that dealers are constantly buying. And Karen's just been a real solid vendor for us. So that's why I asked her to join the program. As well as she knows what's going on in the industry. I thought it would be good for her to be able to share just what's happening in the flooring industry as far as materials are concerned. And besides that, Karen is a proud alumnus of Plano Senior High School.
Oh, now see, you didn't tell me
She's
you were
a wildcat. Absolutely.
Wildcat. See, that was not part of the pre-production process. We never did clear that.
No,
you guys are going to gang up on me. but that's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. Karen, welcome. Thank you so much for taking time to be with us. You have already improved the overall look of the show for those that are watching on YouTube. I can tell you that for sure.
Thank
So, welcome. Tell us just a little bit about yourself before we dive into some questions. We've had some people send us questions, and that's what we want to do is ask the experts. So, welcome.
Thank you. CNC is my family's company. We've been in business for 45 years. I've been working there for the last 35 years. And the heart of what we do is installation. So we pride ourselves on being experts in the installation field. And then we've expanded and added other, flooring products as well. Just we want to keep going and survive as a family business.
Well, we certainly understand that as entrepreneurs, what that's like. And so it's one thing to get the business, and then at a time like this, to be able to survive the business. Am I right, Scott?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys are okay, let's just dive right in. We've got some great questions, and I'm going to pull them up on the screen, and I'll read them. And then I tell you what the rhythm will be. Let me let Scott kind of comment a little bit and improve upon, just the actual question and steer us in the right direction. And I'll just follow up from there. Okay. First one out of the chute. What is it like handling the amount of claims you're handling right now? We just talked about handling success. What's it like? Scott, you can kind of get this ball rolling.
Sure, it's very, very difficult, and you may want to just double check those questions, Chris, because I think we may have them reversed from the contractor versus the supplier questions. But I can tell you that right now, every contractor is handling an unprecedented number of claims, and we're operating at max capacity. So, in fact, I was talking to somebody earlier today. We were joking, said, if you can have somebody that can start your project next week, you don't want that person working on your house. You don't want that person working on your claims, because if they're not busy right now, they're probably not any good. Okay. Anybody that's any good is busy and booked up right now. So
that makes total sense. And if I've got them definitely out of whack, I apologize.
That's okay.
I thought I'd had him here for Karen's questions, and I can do that. Would it be best to speak on this one, or do you want me to jump down and get into?
Why don't we jump down to the material related questions?
All right, sounds good. All right, with that in mind, obviously you mentioned, Scott, that we have material shortages. That makes a lot of sense from a supply demand standpoint. But let's dive a little bit deeper into that. What is it? And I'll just go straight to Karen with this. What does it mean in this industry? What are some things that would help homeowners to understand better the causes for this?
One of the broadest issues is the trucking industry. It is also just under attack. There's just the demand is more than the trucking industry can take, and so it's hard to find trucking drivers. So all of our normal amount of time it takes for us to move product from one part of the country to another to get it to Texas is taking so much longer. Not just longer, but we don't even know when things are coming. There's just the schedules are up in the air. When normally things take 3 to 5 days, it could be here in 3 to 5 days. It could be here in 8 to 10 days. And so it's really hard for us to give a real estimate of when the products are coming in. That's one reason. Another is just that has created these blockades, where material gets to, say, the rail hub, and the rail hub doesn't have enough drivers to drive those trucks that come off the rail cars away. So they sit there in the rail hub. It's here in Dallas, but it can't get from the rail hub to CNC.
Makes total sense. Two things that come to mind are we seeing any of the repercussions from COVID or any of the pandemic is one question I had. Mm-hmm. And then the next one is has to do with the confusion of, well, it seems like my neighbor's project is moving faster than mine. What's the deal there? Because I think one of the things we want to communicate is you guys want to move as fast as possible. It's not like you're trying to come up with excuses as to why you're not getting to people. You can only move so fast. Plus, you balance that with the quality work that you do. It just takes a little bit of time. And so all those factors together. So speak just a little bit to, are we dealing with any post-pandemic issues and or how can it seem like different people might be moving at different speeds?
Karen, I was going to talk about the problem in Los Angeles, or if you're familiar with the problems we're having on the West Coast.
Go ahead, and then I'll follow.
Okay. Yeah. So, Chris, just to give you an idea, right now in the port of Los Angeles, there's 21 ships offshore that are waiting to find a place just to get in port so that they can be unloaded. It's not just the flooring industry or the construction trade industry that this is happening to. It's all industries. We're having problems because in the ports that are in California, there's people that aren't working because of COVID in California. So we've got containers that we've been promised that are just literally sitting there, or they're on a ship waiting to be offloaded until there's enough workers to actually do the work for those. I don't know if Karen, if you've run into that with some of your suppliers as well.
Oh, absolutely. Things that we were bringing in from overseas are definitely backlogged, and we get the same explanation that there are containers built up, that are just sitting in ports, and they can't get through the ports because nobody's, there's not enough people there, and in turn, we're getting also told that all of that potential, the containers and things sitting there, and the containers that are backlogged in all these different places are creating a container shortage. So even if they could fill the container and send it off, there aren't any containers to fill. So there's just one problem is compounding with another.
How about, one of the things I was going to ask is, because I know you and I are intimately involved in this, is the problem with wood glue. The fact that there's not any urethane wood glues. You want to explain how that happened? Because that's going to have a big effect on people's ability to install engineered wood floors coming up.
Yeah, Scott, I have never seen anything like this, and this one is not really COVID related. This is related completely to the weather storms that we had in February. There is a major manufacturer of a raw material in Houston that their electricity was shut down for several days. And they have miles and miles and miles of piping, and all this piping burst, and so they are not able to quickly enough make those repairs to get that plant reworking. And so that raw material is the major component in wood adhesive.
Absolutely, we've
never seen this happen. Our manufacturer has no wood adhesive. Our distribution centers, all the distributors have no wood adhesive. And then, like kind of a secondary distributors, they don't have wood adhesive either. So installing wood right now is very hard. Now, I'm saying that they have none right now. The plant is slowly putting out, they're probably working at about 20% capacity to put out some material. But you can imagine the backlog that has started to be created because it's been going on for a few weeks, that getting wood adhesive is difficult. And it's starting to flow into other adhesives as well. So your adhesive for your glue down luxury vinyl planks and tiles, that's being affected as well. So we are experiencing something I've never seen in 35 years of business, as I can't get any glue.
Amazing.
Well, Chris, let me mention this as well. So one of the products that you should always be able to have, I mean, it's like milk in the grocery store, is 3/4 inch, 2 1/4 inch wide, red oak, #1 common. That is the kind of wood that you're going to see in 80% of the new homes where they put solid wood floors in. Most of the damage from the floods are affecting those types of floors. And the distributor that I go through, basically, I placed a huge order for wood with him 2 weeks ago. And he basically said, Scott, I can't tell you when you're going to get it or what you're going to pay for it until it ships from the mill. And just whenever that day happens, when it ships from the mill, I can tell you when you're going to get it, and I can tell you how much you're going to pay for it. And it's basically, I'm going to have to pay whatever price that day's price is in order to fulfill the orders for my customers that are out there. I've never seen that happen. It's a commodity product that normally they're fighting with, I can get multiple bids on a project to get multiple people competing against each other. Now they're basically saying, you'll pay for it what we tell you you're going to pay for it, or you're not going to get it.
So
that's what's
as
happening
a
in the market
follow-up
right
from
now.
there, other than trying to give the consumer a heads up and just try to keep as much good common communication going at the same time, is there anything else you can do to mitigate? Is there, I mean, you can't just call an audible and do a different method, right? Or are there things that can be done to mitigate that at all?
Well, a couple of things that we're doing is we're trying to advance order a lot of product right now. If there's product that we know we're going to need for projects, we'll order that in advance. Karen knows we've got a 4-pallet order of wood glue that's sitting in her hands right now that's just waiting to be fulfilled. That's normally about a 2 to 3 month supply for us that we're going to get in, and we're just, we're going to advance order a lot of things. We're keeping a real close eye on inventories that we have internally. And then basically, as soon as we find out that there's a problem, we're going to alternate vendors to try to find solutions that are out there. But it is keeping us on our toes. I'm sure Karen's getting lots of phone calls from people she hadn't heard from in years. And they're like, can we please have some wood glue?
Yes, that's true. And, when we are reaching out, doing the same, looking for our alternative vendors, I mean, we are familiar with a lot of products that are out there that weren't our number one favorites, but we know they're good products. So we're reaching out to them to try different good, or one that is made a little differently, that uses a few different ingredients, so they can make that lower quantity of that raw material we're missing work. So we are trying to be very flexible and reaching out to every imaginable source to get what we can in.
So you guys mentioned the wood glue, which obviously is the bread and butter, the staple. Are there any other ones that are hardest hit beyond that? Is it something that really just been crushed, and it's going to take months, if not years, to get us back to supply levels that we used to have?
Between
Adam, I'll go with
wood,
you.
glue, pad, I don't know what you guys are seeing as far as pad, Karen, but I expect that pad, we're going to be able to get carpet, but we're not going to have the pad to lay the carpet in some situations. Or it's going to be, there's going to be people in the marketplace that are going to have a hard time fulfilling the pad orders that are out there.
Yeah, you don't think about where a particular raw material is used throughout the industry. So this raw material that's used in wood glue is also used in a lot of the upper end pads. And so that's why they're not available. We're also having trouble getting fitness floors because that ingredient is in that product and in VCT. So it kind of surprises you how it hit across the market in very different areas. And some of these other areas are a little slower to experience it, but we're starting to see now slowdowns in all those pad and VCT and fitness flooring as well.
I've seen some things interesting. I've found it a fascinating study to see post-pandemic, post-flood. These are the types of things that cause us to have to make changes in the way we do things, in the products we have. And I was just curious, have you guys seen anything that's been a bit on the back burner that, because of this, is getting an opportunity to come in and say, well, we've been kind of kicking around this other idea over here, but for whatever reason, it really hasn't become mainstream. And I may be just a shot in the dark. Is there anything that's kind of risen to the top that is now the only thing available? You're Forrest Gump, and you've got the only boat out in the Gulf, and you're able to sell all your product that nobody was wanting before that. Anything interesting like that consumers might be interested in?
I've got one, Scott.
Go ahead.
I've seen, and I was really kind of happy about it. There is a pad that's been around for many, many years because it's expensive. But people are looking to that now, since the other types of pad aren't available. It makes a superior foundation for under your carpet. It's antibacterial, and so we're seeing people turning in that direction to handle the pad issues.
What was the name again? On my end, you may have frozen just a little bit. What was it called, and what is it?
It's just rubber padding instead of recycled rebond pad.
That's interesting. That's very, very interesting. Scott, anything more on that subject? You look like you had something.
No, except to say that I think the vinyl plank industry is probably going to be going through a lot of changes. I haven't seen anything hit the market yet, but that's just a real high demand product that the supplies are going to be very limited over the next several months. Somebody's going to come up with an idea on that particular product that will could potentially make a big change in that market. I'm making a little bit of a prediction right now, but my guess is somebody's trying to figure that out while we speak.
Absolutely.
Right now.
Absolutely. That's where opportunities come from. Are you counseling any of your customers to go to a different material altogether because of this and say, okay, you want to wait this long, we can do this, but if you want to wait this long, I can have this put in?
I'm trying to just counsel calm right now, Chris. Just
Okay.
be
All right.
patient. And you know, the reason why everybody wants to get it done, I understand that,
Yeah,
but
I
we're making decisions that they've got to live with for the next 10 to 15 years. I think the worst thing they can do is settle for something that's less than what they really want,
That's a great point.
just to save a couple of weeks worth of time, and then they're left with having to look at that every day they wake up in the morning and be dissatisfied with it. So I'm more just trying to counsel them to just be patient right now. Just hang in there. We'll get you what you want, and it's going to look good when we're done.
Yeah. We're doing our best to communicate all that I can to Scott and tell him, you know, even little bits of information like, you know, hey, I know this product is at the hub, so that means that it's here and we will come, you know, it can't be that far. We're seeing, and we've kind of seen this for the last year before this, even that we're looking more towards American manufacturing, which is a really nice thing.
Yeah.
So we're just taking on a couple of new products now that are made in the USA that look so good.
Do you
That's
find
nice
yourself,
to hear.
and I think I know the answer from Scott, you find yourself trying to use technology a little bit more to get the word out and broadcast either in, you know, venues like this, or even just saying, look, I'm going to try to text you. As soon as I know something, I'll let you know. Just because of that, you know, nervous factor of, you know, I hadn't heard anything from anybody, you know, what's going on. So do you find yourself trying to reach out a little bit more than normal to folks?
Yes,
Scott,
I
you?
am. I'm definitely reaching out
Karen?
and telling people things I wouldn't normally even say. I've just let it like wait through, but I'm just telling them every little piece of information I get as soon as I get it.
That's awesome. I know they appreciate that. All right. This leads us to the future. What is it we can expect? How much longer is this going to go on? Do you guys have any industry insight that it will pick up a little bit? It will slowly get better. It will all of a sudden go from 0 to 100. What can we expect in the near future? Scott, why don't you start, and then feel free to reformat it if necessary to Karen. What are you seeing?
I think we're going to have a tight market at least until late third quarter. I don't see things improving much until this fall. I think it's going to be a tight market. We're at a point where we've got maximum demand and the least amount of supply that we've seen in a lot of years. And it's going to take some time for that to straighten itself out. I think it will, but I don't see it happening for at least until September, October of this year. I think it's going to be a tight summer.
I agree 100%. That's what I would have said exactly. I think that we are going to, you know, we'll see things turn around. We'll see our manufacturing of our this raw material come back, but that backlog is going to have to be filled. And so, yeah, I'm thinking definitely the summer is going to be very tight, and it might be fourth quarter before we're back to normal.
I'm the optimist, Karen.
Well, we're in trouble when Scott's the optimist.
Yeah.
And ask Julie about that. We've got a few minutes left, which has been very, very interesting and got some really interesting tidbits, I think, for the viewers. Just looking over some of our other questions, Scott, one of them jumped out at me, and that has to do with anything or the role that the consumer or the customer can have in speeding this process up at all. Is there anything at all that they can do? I mean, we've talked about, you know, just chilling out and breathing slowly. What can they do? Maybe their surroundings. Are there any tips that they can do of how to do life a little easier? Are there things going on in their house while they're waiting that they may or may not know about? What can they do in speeding up the process or as they wait?
Well, and maybe this will help because I'm glad we brought this question up. The big thing is be prepared when the time comes that you need to make a decision, to make that decision and get on with it. And then the second thing is, you have these, when you're in construction, you have these windows of opportunity. For example, I have an opening for a tile slot on Wednesday at from Wednesday through Friday, and I'm going to have your shower done then. Well, if for some reason you're not ready for us to do that project that Wednesday, then you're going to have to get moved until the next available slot. There's not an installation crew that's sitting on the sidelines that's just waiting for me to put them in there. If you miss your slot, you're going to go to the end of the line. And so one of the things that we're seeing with homeowners that we're having to just really educate them about is these schedules are really, really tight. If we miss something, that trade gets pushed back, and then all of the other trades that are coming behind them get pushed back because it's a process. So don't miss your window. And then the final thing that I would try to have everybody understand is, once we start work on your house, we want to get it over with. We may be postponing the start of your project because we've got to get everything moved out of your house, or we may be waiting on that one piece of material that we need to complete everything that's part of your house. We don't want to start and stop on your project. We want to have everything ready to go, because once we're in your house and we're working, we become very disruptive to your life. So keep that in mind. One of the things that may be postponing is just that one thing we're looking for, and we can't really start until we have that one final piece in place, because we don't want to start and stop on your project. Karen can probably understand what that's like as a contractor. You just, it messes you up when you were planning on having that part or that glue at that particular time. If it's not available, it throws everybody's schedules off. So that's going to have a big impact.
Yeah, I would agree with you so much. And you have to mentally prepare for that patience, and it's kind of hurry up and wait. And so once they get started, they get started. But just getting yourself in that mental place of, I know this is going to be a mess or a hard step, but I know it's also going to be done. And when it's done, I'm going to love it. This is going to be great. My new flooring looks good. It's going to make the biggest difference in my whole house. And so keep your eye on the end goal.
Absolutely. That's great.
I think that's great advice across the board. Well, Scott, I think we've covered most of the things on the questions that had come in. Is there anything in the back of your mind or something you wanted to ask Karen now that we have her with us?
Now that I have you, there's a few questions I'd like to ask Karen, by the way, now that she's on microphone.
Not that you're on the spot.
I won't do that. No, I just want to thank Karen for a willingness to do this. It's a little scary at first, but just a job well done, Karen. Thank you for joining us and helping to give some insights into what's going on in the marketplace. So appreciate it.
And I appreciate the opportunity. Like we were talking ahead of time, people kind of sometimes assume that you're lying. You're not telling them the truth when you don't know the answer, or when it's not the answer they want. We're all doing the best that we can. We're working as fast as we can. We're not trying to hide anything from anyone. We want to get that product out to the marketplace. So I appreciate the opportunity to set everybody, to let them see that what's really going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. What's going on behind the scenes is sausage is being made. And they like to say is, you don't want to watch sausage being made. It's not a pretty sight. So, well, Chris, looks like we might have lost Chris. So that might be Chris, we'll just kind of wait for you if he may have to restart. But
yeah.
I think, Karen, I'll close out again. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure. Hope you have a great evening. And then to those that are watching, please join us for our next show. And in the meantime, God bless.